My name is Nikolaus Oberhuber. I'm one of the co-founders of KOW Gallery in Berlin. I'm originally based from Vienna, and I moved in 2008 to Berlin to open up the gallery together with my partner Alexander Koch. And since then, I'm there. When Alexander and I started to think about the project, we wanted to create a place that defends artistic practices that should be connected to societal topics. Because Alexander and I was asking us the question, why should art matter to a larger and broader audience and to society in general? And we think that a lot of artistic practices actually really are concerned with the questions of today. And but maybe galleries in general, we don't work enough on explaining what the connections are to those societal topics, and that was kind of the center of the conversation that we had when we set up the gallery. And then we wanted to show a very heterogenic group of artists from different generations with different practices, from different geographies, to really show also that these concerns can really be found all over the world in all kinds of practices. Yeah, that was kind of the starting point of our profile of our gallery. Every artist that we started to collaborate with, and how we came together has its own story. Because we also were not looking for a certain generation, so we met people very different in very different ways. For example, Michael E. Smith, we met him by accident because I knew his teacher was Jessica Stockholder, and when we were visiting her at Yale while she was still the head of the sculpture department, and that's how we discovered his work and him at the master thesis show. And in the case of Barbara Hammer, who's one of the most important experimental filmmakers in my eye, especially also for question of lesbian identity and sexuality and love. We discovered her work in the Jaspis Art Center in the library of Jaspis. So I think all of these, what we don't do is, actually Alexander, I really said that very straight for us. We always look at the work first and never read anything before we haven't really found our own language for these practices. This is very, very crucial for us in order to really go deep into understand an artist's work. So we really try to identify the quality of the work through what I see in front of me, or then through the exchange I have with an artist. But it's not a CV and all these things, they don't matter. I mean, in the end, you're looking for certain qualities, and you can find them on the work, not on the paper of a CV or a text. You have to find them in the work. So these are the kind of the identifiers for us. I think you have to find the quality in the work in the end. Well, as we all know, Berlin is rather a place of production than a place of consumption, but it has, I think with technological means, it's very easy to communicate with the rest of the world, and people have been looking since the 90s at what's going on in town, and so there's a lot of coming into town and exchange with the outside world. But obviously the economy is not in Berlin but outside. I think the economy of the gallery, I think, starts also with the success of the artists. So I think when we started to work with artists and their careers are developing, I think this also creates more interest and obviously then also an economy for the artists. And one of the other means of that are the art fairs. But we have quite an interest in exhibition space in Berlin, and we thought that we wanted to also create a place which is also attractive to be visited, and out of that creates an interest, and obviously then out of that also an economy. I would say that a lot of the practices that we're working with may are not ones that are inclined to be on the market. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges, to also create a market for them. But because in the end, the economy is one important aspect also of defending an artist. If you want him to be successful, it works also through the market, and this can be challenging. But that's also the fun part of the work to achieve that. I think this is something that I think I would say that gallery people have very different visions on what their goals are. Certain are looking for social representation, money, all of these things. For me, I think when we started our project, this is also a challenge to see if we can achieve to create, to defend and create the economies for these artists that are somehow neglected on the market, and this is one of the big goals I would like to see happen, and that I can already see happen now. But I think the goal is never. I think it's more about the way. In the end, you're continuously on a way. Yeah, I think you don't never stop your duty and say, okay, this is finished. I think what is the pleasure and the challenge is to walk that way. I think we did more than that. I think we really had a philosophical vision of how we wanted to do that. And we did actually workshops between us, writing and also trying to fund the project. So and the business plan, of course you have certain ideas and numbers, but I think it was mainly about a philosophical way of working on the project. Yeah. So if that's a business plan, also okay. But I think it goes. Maybe it was went a little bit into another direction. But then, just in terms of we have to make business plans. It can be sometimes difficult in the sense that everything is based on money, and money is not always a good advisor for certain questions. Also, for programmatic questions. So this has been, to come back to the question maybe that you asked me before about where the challenge is. This is a challenge to find a way in which the programmatic and the economic can come together. In the beginning, Alexander and I, we start to laugh now because for 1.5 years before the gallery opened, we were sitting in a little office of 15 square meters, thinking about what we wanted to do. The building wasn't even built that we were in there, so it was all about, kind of profiling what we wanted to do. And these moments are very fruitful because you can really push your project into a certain direction. And when you are inside your daily work, you always have to remind yourself that you want to keep track that way. I think this is a challenge that we all face. And obviously with time, the team grows, so your leadership skills are more important. Organizational questions that maybe before were not so important. All of these kind of questions of how to run a business somehow also come up, I would say, in a certain way, which is a certain challenge. With regards to your question of the Liste and to grow, this is not really a concern of ours. I think we are trying to do our work, and all of the results come from themselves and have to come out of this work. I think it's very important that we stay on track of what our interests and what our initial ideas were, and I think that's the most important thing. I don't know. Temptations is in all kinds of ways, but I think that actually developing this idea in the beginning about saying that we wanted to show only art that is, artistic practices that can be connected to societal topics. Was a very useful tool to our decision making in terms of our program. This is always when Alexander and I will look at an artist, that's the filter. So, and this is not that we don't get there's no temptation to do anything else. I think it has to go through that filter, and that's the most important thing. In my case, I'm a second generation gallerist. So my mother is a gallerist and my father is an artist, and obviously my family are people I seek advice to. But in terms of looking up at other galleries, I think there are many galleries that I really appreciate, also in their, for their own profile and how they have defended that profile. I would advise somebody to really try to create a profile, what they want to do and what they want to defend, and very early on, because then you have a certain direction that you can follow up to, and follow a certain goal and a certain way. And I think that's maybe, and that profile can go in many different directions. But I think you should really think about that profile. I don't know exactly if you want to be contemporary. I don't know. I think I'm not sure if being contemporary is an important issue for us. But what we want to do is we want to defend our cause. Yeah, and obviously you want that cause to be understood, seen all over the world. So how that then functions, exactly how we come together. I mean, there are very different means. You can, as I said, you create a place that hopefully then creates so much interest that people are coming to you, but obviously also there's meeting points as art fairs where you can, where professionals meet with each other. There are exhibition projects of artists all over the world that you can also work on. And obviously then also partnerships with other galleries are crucial for the career development of the artist, which then obviously also has then I would say an effect on your own activities. But I'm not sure if that's really a contemporary. I don't know what the term contemporary in that sense means. Since the practices we defend are really from different generations, they're from different geographies. It's not that we defend maybe a certain generation of artists or certain trends. I think the main topic for us is, okay, how are these practices defendable and connectable to societal questions and issues. And I think this is not only a contemporary issue, but an issue that should always be of our concern. In terms of entertainment, I don't know. I think something happened that may be also good is that you have a growing amount of people that are interested in art. The reasons for that are various. Some of them are social, some of them are investment issues, some of them are art. And but I grew up in an environment in the 80s in the gallery where the amount of people that were interested in art was very narrow and small. It was really about art, yeah, and not nothing else. And inside society, I think people looked also, society as a whole looked different at art as people are may looking now at art, yeah. I think obviously there's a lot more money involved. It's more glamorous. So this is, I think, and obviously out of that comes an entertainment. But I have the feeling that what we used to have as was one art world has differentiated itself in many different art worlds with its own agendas and issues. So, and some of them they don't even deal with each other anymore. Yeah, and some of them intervene. Yeah. So I think so it has enlarged. I think like 20 years ago, maybe you were able to know all the artists that exist. I mean, nowadays absolutely impossible. I mean, I have thousands and thousands, but also because I think the art field has expanded geographically. I think we used to live in a very narrow-minded Western picture of art, and I think nowadays we have a look at what's going on all over the world, which I think is fantastic. Yeah? It makes our job much more complicated because there are many more values, cultural backgrounds that you kind of have to understand. So it's we go away from this one reality about things, which I think is very good, but it makes it more challenging to kind of understand also what people are doing, thinking, and working on. Yeah? The future of the art world, disastrous. No, the future of the art world. Well, I would continue what I just said about the differentiation of the art field. I think I think that will happen much more. You will have certain artists that are just keen for the financial market, and like we also have to a certain extent is already happening. Certain artists are bought and thrown away after 1 year. So and other practices are more, maybe more socio-political that will never be part of this kind of investment, I think. Then other things are, social issue, not social but societal representational issues of like, and then you will have, all of this extravaganza of the big exhibitions of biennials and etc. all over the world. I think this will just become more. I don't know, but I don't really have a vision of what what I want to have in there. I don't know. I would hope that people can see what the value of art can be to a society as a whole.